The Boys. Amazon's The Boys is getting its own spin-off series. I mean, the third season also is already greenlit, so we got that coming. And then now all of a sudden we're going to get a spin-off series that's going to be focusing on. It kind of honestly sounded like Degrassi with superheroes, but obviously they say it's going to maintain the same R-rated kind of, you know, edginess that The Boys itself has. But it's going to be I don't know, like a superhero college, a soup in training type of thing. And like I said, my only hesitation with something like this is the fact that it could end up being something like Degrassi, or like I don't know, like how compelling it will be. It really just depends, in my opinion, on like where they end up going with the show, and then what period this is going to be set in. Because I imagine this will be somewhat of a prequel series.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, have you, Rick? I know you haven't really been keeping up with The Boys, but John, have you been? You've seen a little bit of it, but I know you haven't seen like the most recent episode.
No.
Like, have you been keeping up with it, John?
Oh yeah. I just watched what the new episode dropped yesterday. I watched it yesterday, so yeah.
I think that was probably the best episode of the season so far, in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, whichever one I watched last is the best episode. It's that good. I cannot get enough of that show. They do a great job of infusing it with that over the top kind of sarcastic tone and violence and humor and everything, and they don't shy away from it, which I love. I mean, it's definitely not for kids and not for teens, but that's fine. There's a place for it, and I think it's ratings and clearly getting a spin-off show that it has an audience out there.
Well, as far as like original series go on Amazon, it's really the only one that I've even watched. It might just because of my bias towards like superhero stuff. Because I know like Man of High Castle is supposed to be like really good.
Sure.
And, then they have some other stuff too. I just can't, off the top of my head, I can't even think of any other Amazon shows. I mean, we got the Lord of the Rings one coming.
They also have that Hannah show. And then they've got the John Krasinski plays it. He plays the
Jack
spy
Ryan.
analyst Jack Ryan show.
I tried to watch that and I didn't. I just couldn't. I only gave it one shot and I didn't even get through the first episode. But I think that was more or less just like I didn't have time for it. I feel like watching it. I heard it was pretty good.
Jim Halpert is a spy.
Yeah, he's a spy. He's a CIA analyst, I believe. It was the first season was good. I mean, you know, I don't know. It didn't blow me away, but it was entertaining. I just think they have a hard time. Their originals don't have the same prestige as like Netflix original shows do. I think people are more willing to try the Netflix shows, but I think Amazon realizes that they're kind of fine. Netflix hasn't done anything I don't think is out there and over the top as The Boys.
No, that's the thing too with Netflix. It's like they knock it out of the park with their original series, and then their Netflix original movies are always garbage. And with Amazon, it's the complete opposite. Like, not that the Amazon series are garbage, but like their notoriety is for their Amazon original movies, because like they have their films that they make and produce, like just that are actually Amazon films. Like, what was it? Wasn't Manchester by the Sea? Wasn't that an Amazon original?
That was.
And then
that was an Amazon movie.
I think Hell or High Water was also an Amazon movie, and then that Kumail and Johnny movie that was based on his life.
Yep.
The Big Sick. That was like
Big Sick. Yeah.
They've like knocked it out of the park with their movies, but their shows like actually do have some. I just think they're a little bit later to the party. They don't have as many shows like as Netflix does. But
Sure.
I don't know. It is kind of a interesting dichotomy where like Netflix and Amazon are probably the two heavy hitters as far as like the streaming services go, because HBO kind of has been its own thing for such a long time. Where like they're like the most common neutral middle ground of they make good movies and TV shows explicitly. And back to the Boys thing though. The only thing that made me think Degrassi though was pretty much this line right here. There's like hormonal competitive soups as they put their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries to the test, competing for the best contracts in the best cities. So,
that's interesting.
And they describe it as part college show, part Hunger Games. So I kind of feel like they could go one of two ways with this, and it's make it. I'm sure that they're going to keep it as like, I don't know, R-rated And they kind of like hinted at that already, that it's going to remain very much the boys, but different. I just feel like it could really go one of two. It could be really cheesy and kind of like boring, or it could be like really awesome, depending on how far they're willing to take it. Because I for whatever reason, I'm imagining like you ever see Neighbors with like Zac Efron and yeah, imagine that, like those kind of
Will
dudes.
Ferrell, right?
No, it was Seth Rogen and
Seth Rogen.
Seth
and
Rogen,
then
that's
Zac
correct.
Efron and whatnot. And I'm imagining like the Zac Efron characters, them being the Supe guys. You know
Just
what I
like
mean?
Yeah.
all of them.
And if it's a bunch of crazy, efforts like that, just with superpowers, all like being crazy, trying to get the best like it could be a lot of fun. It could get kind of stale, and it could also get kind of cheesy at times, I feel like, which I don't know, kind of lends itself to the boys in some ways. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been such a great show. I'm looking forward to really anything. We'll see.
I'm curious who they're going to get to, because as far as I know, The Boys is following loosely the plot of the comics. I mean, it's taken elements from the comics that already existed in. So I'm curious how much the creator of The Boys comic, Garth Ennis, is going to be involved with this, or if this is a wholly Amazon creation and they're kind of doing this off, on their own.
We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I don't know if they even said if the showrunner. I know Eric Kripke is going to be producing it, and Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg and James Weaver again. So I mean, they're all the producers and showrunners of The Boys. So
yeah,
I mean, who knows?
I didn't know Seth Rogen was.
Yeah, him and Evan Goldberg's company is like behind the Boys.
They had done the Preacher series, which was a Garth Ennis series, comic series that they had produced for AMC. I really wish, looking at how good The Boys is and how well they've translated that they would have been able to do the same with Preacher on Amazon or Netflix or one of these streaming channels that would have given them more freedom to adapt it a little more faithfully. They had to make some adjustments and tone down some stuff for the AMC series that it was still a good series. It just didn't quite have the over the top feel of it that The Boys does.
I watched like the first season of that. I think I can't remember how far I got through, and it was fine.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah,
it was okay. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to this. So anything more with The Boys is fine. Like I'm all game for.
I like what I've seen so far. Like I think it's a good show.
It's really good. It's a great show.
It was my favorite new show of last year, and I think it's my favorite show this year. I can't think of a series that I watch or have seen that I've liked more the past 2 years than this show.
No, I totally agree. And I wasn't the only thing I'm curious of, and I don't want to get like too. Do you know anything about the comics? I don't want to get too anything heavy into spoilers, but
I know some. I read it. See, it started as a DC comic.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of their mature line when it first came out, but it was too over the top for DC. So after the first 6, I think it was after the first 6, it may have been the first 3 issues, DC said, we're going to go ahead and pass on continuing to publish this. And that's when Garth Ennis took it over to Dynamite and they started publishing it. So, I've read some of it, but I didn't read much past it.
Well, the main thing that I'm curious about what they're going to do, because they already changed like Stormfront. Stormfront was like a dude in the comics, and they changed him to be, they gender swapped him. And so I'm presuming, I haven't read all the comics. I just read like kind of after season 1, I was like just curious about a couple characters. So I like kind of skimmed through some stuff. So obviously, I imagine, considering Stormfront was a dude, that the storyline they just introduced with her, like the whole reveal at the end of episode 6. Again, I'm not going to get into spoilers or anything. Assuming all that's new, it'd be weird otherwise if Stormfront was a dude. Not that there's anything wrong with that by any means, but just hard to have children. If you're the same.
Although it's all about genetic modification, so maybe it could just be test tube.
Yeah, that's also true. But what I'm mainly curious of is Black Noir, because do you know like Black Noir's identity in the comics?
No, I don't.
Okay, well I don't want to spoil anything, but like It seems like they're not going that route, but at the same time, it kind of does based on the opening scene I think to the series was him doing that infiltration thing, and then the dude trying to blow him up, and then he doesn't die. You know?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't want to get spoil. If you want to spoil, I don't know if they're gonna go that route, so I'm not gonna say anything. But who he is supposed to be underneath the mask is somewhat familiar. So and I don't know if they're gonna go that route with it. But I don't know. I'm just curious if they're gonna do that because they've kind of teased that they are, and it's really hard to talk about without spoiling it. So
He's a cool character, from what I've seen.
he is a cool character, but he has no lines and at all.
Sure.
And,
it feels like they're keeping him off the board. They're not going fully into his. Cause it feels like they're saving him for something.
Well, dude, he does some messed up stuff in the comic. If you think the show is they do some effed up stuff,
yeah,
dude, I'm not even kidding. In this is not really a spoiler because it happened in the comics, but they have a scene with Black Noir, and because they barely really use him at all. But then in season 1 of the one in the comic, the first run of the comic line, Black Noir was literally raping people and doing some messed up stuff. So if you think the show is messed up, go check out the comic, and then you can know who Black Noir is underneath the mask and know what I'm kind of getting at to see if they're actually going to do that or not. Because at this point, I could kind of take it or leave it, but it'd be, I don't know, the way things are going, it'd be even kind of more interesting for them to actually follow that line. So I don't know, that I'm still the most interested in knowing what they're going to do with Black Noir just based on what I know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But if neither of you know, it's kind of hard for you to speculate. So the question is for you guys who do know who Black Noir is quote unquote supposed to be underneath the mask, what do you think they're going to be doing with Black Noir and any of these other future characters that are going to be popping up in the new spin-off series and everything? Let us know down in the comment section below.